This is a review of prepositional phrases. It's going to be very repetitive of what we did in class today, but the practice and the repetition is something that's probably going to help you as you've probably struggled a little bit with finding prepositional phrases. So we're going to review first what is a prepositional phrase. How do you recognize one? You look for that formula. If it's a prepositional phrase, it must start with a preposition. And we know our prepositions because we memorize them. And that was why I wanted you to memorize them, so that when we got to this point, it was going to be a little easier for you. You can have some modifiers in the middle, and our modifiers are adjectives and adverbs. And then you're looking for a noun or a pronoun at the end. And the big thing you can't have is a verb. Big no-no. Because if we see a verb, that means we have found an infinitive. Or we might have found an infinitive. If we see to plus a verb, this is how we are going to code it. So when you see that preposition of to, you have to watch. Is it a preposition with a noun, or is it to with a verb? And this seemed to be one of the confusing things that I saw on the quiz. The last thing that you could have that's confusing is a preposition that looks like a preposition, but it's all by itself. It's an adverb. Some of our more common adverbs, over, under, above, below, where they don't have something after them. It just says, I went over, or he went under, and it's not telling over the bed, over the hill, over the driveway. So when we think about what prepositions do, their job is to show relationships. And specifically, we've been talking about relationships in space, like where things are located, and time, when things are happening. So you have a list of prepositions in your notebook, but I had you make a list of the more common ones. The ones that probably don't fit the best into that time and space description, to, for, and from are the ones that we see an awful lot in sentences. Of, off. So you should just start recognizing these little teeny tiny words in sentences. We know they're not nouns and verbs. We just want you to be able to recognize them very quickly so that you can rule them out in sentences, because we're going to get to the point where we're going to be looking for subjects and verbs in sentences, and if you can get rid of all these extras, it makes it a lot easier for you. All right, so let's take a look at our practice example. We started some of this in class, and if you really want to study for this and do well on your next test, you might want to print this paper off of my website and do it again and check it as you watch the screencast. So the city of Thebes was under attack by the Sphinx, a monster with the body of a lion and face of a woman. So we're going to start by looking for some prepositions. I see of, looking for a noun after it, of Thebes. Under attack. Oops. By the Sphinx, shows where it's located. A monster with the body of a lion and face of a woman. I see with the body. Of a lion, and of again of a face. This creature had been sent by the gods to punish the people of Thebes. Okay, so I see by the gods. I see to, so I'm going to stop and think for a second. I need to decide, is there a noun after it, or is there a verb after it? Punish, to punish. That sounds like something that somebody can do, so that looks like it's an infinitive, to plus a verb. And then going back, the people isn't one. Of is a preposition that we had to memorize, of Thebes. On a rock outside the gates to the city, the Sphinx terrorized anyone who passed by with this riddle. So I see on a rock. Outside what? Outside the gates. To what? To the city. The Sphinx terrorized anyone who passed by with this riddle. I see by with, That doesn't sound right. There's no noun there. By with this riddle, well, that does end with a noun, but that doesn't make sense. This looks like a case where we've got by as an adverb. He passed where? Passed by. There's no noun following it. And then with is a preposition with this riddle. And the riddle is, what is it that walks on 4 legs in the morning, on 2 legs at noon, and on 3 legs in the evening? I see lots of prepositional phrases there. Is it that walks? Now, a lot of people are confusing is and it because of in. So make sure that you know what your words are. Is, you should know as a verb. We'll be reviewing those in about a week or two, our linking and our helping verbs. All right, so on what? On 4 legs. In the morning. I see on again. On 2 legs. When? At noon. And on again. See a little repetition here. On what? On 3 legs. When did he walk on 3 legs? In the evening. When they failed to guess correctly, the Sphinx gobbled them up. I see 2, but I know that I have to be extra careful when I see 2. Does it have a verb after it or a noun? To guess. Guess is an action that I could do, so that's an infinitive, to guess. To guess correctly, I see up. Up looks like a preposition, but I see it's the last word in the sentence, so it can't be a preposition because there's no noun after it. So up is an adverb. The King of Thieves promised that anyone who correctly answered the riddle would succeed him as king. Okay. Of thieves. That anyone who correctly answered the riddle would succeed him as king. King is a noun. One day, the hero Oedipus wandered by on his way home from a visit to the oracle at Delphi. I see one day by on his way. By doesn't look like it has a noun after it, so it must be an adverb. It's just he wandered by. On his way. From a visit. To what? To the oracle. At what? At Delphi. He stopped before the Sphinx and listened to the riddle. Before is a preposition. Before what? Before the Sphinx. And listen to what? To the riddle. The hero thought for a moment and then answered, a human being. For what? For a moment. And I think that's it for that sentence. It crawls on all 4s as a baby, walks on 2 legs as an adult, then walks with the help of a cane. Oops, there's my typo. With the help of a cane in old age. All right, let's see. On all 4s. As a baby. On again. On 2 legs. As again, I'm seeing some patterns here. As an adult. Then with the help of a cane in old age. Oedipus was correct, and the Sphinx was furious. I don't see anything there. In a rage, she hurled herself from her perch and died. See, in what? In a rage. From her perch. And then the last one. As for Oedipus, he became king of thieves. Okay, see, for Oedipus, which means as is by itself, because we can't say as for Oedipus, so that must be an as adverb. He became king of thieves and of thieves. Okay, so if you need any more help with this, I also on my website put some games over here that you could practice. Oh, it's not showing up, but it's down here in this corner. Down here, after from class today, I'll put the screencast in one spot, and then there's a link to some games that you could practice online. So good luck. We'll be taking our requiz on Monday.